Hey, my name is Donovan from Wilkins Harley-Davidson. Super excited to watch the new Sportster video that's just released, the Sportster S. It's called a 1250T. I've done a little preliminary research, so I'll try to sprinkle in a few of the goodies that I have researched and some of the specs. But yeah, let's give it a shot.
With Sportster S, we knew we could put the sport back in Sportster. This motorcycle rides exactly the way that it looks.
Sport
it's
back
insane.
in the Sportster.
The design was intended to push the limits.
The acceleration, just an absolutely exhilarating feel.
Revolution Max, unlimited amounts of horsepower and torque right at the twist of the throttle.
It's such an exciting, thrilling motorcycle to ride.
Definitely looks a lot different than your traditional Sportsters at first glance. Looks pretty gnarly. What? Look at this place. Tolkien Estate, Scottish Highlands. That's Jochen Zeitz, VP of Harley, and I think that's one of the grandsons of the founders. We'll see here. Yeah, Bill Davidson, he's a grandson of one of the founders.
Jochen, I understand that you're in Scotland, and I'm just wanted to welcome
Ewan
you
McGregor. What
to
up?
my country. I hope you have an amazing time there. There are some of the best riding roads
I like it.
in the
He
world.
calls it
in Scotland.
welcome to my
And so
country.
I hope you've got your Harley with you, and that you're going to get some miles done out on the roads. Really have a great time, and welcome to Scotland.
We don't have a bagpiper. Spud the Piper, it says on his little name tag. That's funny. Wow. Look at these roads. They're about to blast. That looks fun. So the headlight, that's called the pill headlight. Harley designed it. It's a new LED signature series in the shape of like a pill. They didn't want to take up too much of the front end, but they still want to have a lot of light emitting out in the traditional LED fashion.
Bill, it's so great to be in Scotland.
Dang.
Oh man, what a beautiful ride through this
Davidson
beautiful
family
countryside.
cottage.
It's amazing
So,
to be here.
Bill Davidson's ancestors, I
This is
guess,
a pretty
were originally from this area.
awe-inspiring, emotional experience for me.
Dang.
My ancestry is here.
Think about
That's pretty
that
righteous.
it all kind of started, you know, with your great-great-great-grandfather in Scotland. If he had not gone to America, it wouldn't have happened.
It would have been a different story. It's a labor of love, the restoration, the fact that they preserved it for riders from all around the world to come and enjoy and spend time here.
Dang,
Pretty
that
awesome.
makes me want to go to Scotland.
Pilgrimage back to the roots.
Heritage is so powerful and it's really unique to our company, which I'm so proud of.
Yeah, well, and it's so great to combine it, you know, going back to the roots and then launching a new bike, which has a whole history on its own. Actually, I was looking at the dates. If you think about it, they left for America in 1857. The first Sportster came to market in 1957, exactly.
Great point,
100 years
Jochen.
later, and now we're here over 60 years later, and are launching the next Sportster. It's quite extraordinary.
Dang. See, that's what I think of as a traditional Sportster, the Evo, but it's a pretty cool looking bike. From evolution to revolution.
In the late 50s, when Sportster was born, it was considered a giant killer. It was a super bike.
I love that. Giant killer.
Whether you were on the flat track, drag strip, or you're on the street, I mean, it was a real performance motorcycle. The
One of my
legacy
favorite
of
stickers
Sportster
I
for
saw.
Harley-Davidson.
I've
It's
seen
a
over the
really
years.
important part of our story.
It says Sportster established 1957, piston off big twins since 1957. Something along those lines. It's a cool sticker, so it just reminded me of that.
We can look at some of these analogs to the automotive world, like Mustang, Camaro. Sportster is one of those names that's actually been around, you know, longer than some of those names. It is a name that's instantly recognizable.
When you look at the longevity of Sportster from 1957 to today, it's unmatched and unparalleled in the motorcycling world that one model has such staying power. And that's what's made it so special.
It's staying with the times, it's getting ahead of the times. That's what the Sportster's done down through its history. For 1957, it starts with one model for that year. And the biggest change is overhead valves. And so it's going to provide a lot more power, which is what riders were asking for. It's what dealers were asking for.
The name Sportster is really synonymous with the general use of that bike. It was a small...
So I'll pause here again. They talked about the overhead valves being introduced in the 1957 model. Something I've learned by watching some of the training videos and whatnot on this new Sportster S. They've actually redesigned the pistons, the combustion chamber. It's a whole new engine. So this bike has a lot of new technology jammed into a small frame and a small engine. The 9,500 RPM redline and the redesigned combustion chamber. They were just talking about those valves, and it's got redesigned valve areas, so they're smaller. Helps increase the velocity of the air fuel mixture going through there, which big torque numbers, so that's what they're going for.
Small, nimble, powerful bike.
There was a strong demand for it in the market. We were looking at low-priced, high-performing, lightweight motorcycles. And once the Sportster is released, it's really incredible to see where it goes from there.
In the first year that Sportsters were out, Gerald McGovern campaigned on a new 1957 Sportster and won the Jack Pine Endurance Run, which is one of the most brutal motorcycling events. And
That's
so
nuts.
Harley-Davidson couldn't help but really make some noise about this. One of the more unique uses happens in which the LA Coliseum is really kind of used as a hill climb. One of the seating sections
There's no
was
way they'd let you
outfitted
do
with
that
a
nowadays.
ramp to get this thing up to the top, just to
That's
show
awesome,
the power of the Sportster model.
Imagine ripping up a big hunk of board up a Coliseum.
One of the most important things about the Sportster engine was how versatile it was. You could literally take this engine, you could put it in a road bike, you could put it in a Daytona racer bike, you could put it in scrambles or flat track racing, you could put it in a hill climb, you could
It's a
put
great
it in
point.
a
I'll
land
stop
speed
here
grip.
again. So Sportsters are the most highly customized models out there over the years, and I think the Iron 883 has been one of the best selling Sportsters over the years. So I'm really excited to see how the Sportster S, I think it's going to shake the tree a little bit, but I think a lot of performance riders and a lot of traditional Sportster folks may be a little hesitant at first, but once they probably ride this thing, which I'm super excited to ride, they're going to love it. You got
The
it.
hill climb, you
Just look
could
at the
put it in
numbers.
a land speed record bike, and it would outperform all the competition in all of those different forms. One monumental point in Sportster history really is the Sportster Streamliner. In 1970, a group of 4 guys developed this kind of long cigar-looking rocket run on a Sportster engine.
The first time you look at it,
Nuts.
some people might say that's a motorcycle. It is.
Two-wheeler.
You're talking about a Sportster engine going 265 miles an hour.
265
basically kind of
miles
crushes
an
the
hour.
land
in
speed record for its
1970.
time.
A new motorcycle world land speed record.
The company's
That's one of my
always looking
favorites,
at how can we
1978
take
Cafe
this
Racer.
thing that's
Those are
great
cool bikes.
and make it even greater. So technology-wise, the bike is always moving ahead.
And now today, we have the birth of the Revolution Max platform. So you're going from evolution.
So they just showed the photo. Let's pause it again. The finish on the engine, it's actually called chocolate satin, and it's a combination of magnesium and lightweight metals to keep the powertrain lightweight and also super strong. I like that chocolate satin finish.
Evolution to revolution. With Sportster S, we knew we could put the sport back in Sportster because it's time.
I can write sport back in
We knew we had the
Sportster.
engineering prowess to do it with the RevMax powertrain. The birth of this architecture, it's really knocked down a bunch of fences that we had. Kind of untied our hands in terms of what we can do with form factor, what we can do with performance. You put the right people in the room and you get the right feedback from the customers. You get the right kind of technology and the right kind of thinking, the right kind of mindset. Keep the soul in all the decisions, and you get motorcycles like this that push all the boundaries and deliver that Harley-Davidson experience.
Keep the soul in the decision.
Knowing that we had this opportunity to, think about, well, what is the next generation of Sportster like? Our designers, they go to work. They begin to create all kinds of, wild spectrums, from staying safe to the traditional to the extremes.
We wanted to make sure the first one was wild. It was going to kind of turn heads. We're going to challenge our internal standards. The design team just said, well, let's just turn the dials up to 11.
The design was intended to push the limits of
what people think when they hear the term Sportster. How can we really push everything about this to be as irrational and cool as possible?
That's nuts. They form it out of like that clay bar and just
isn't as rewarding. We had a lot of freedom. We knew there was nothing ever like it.
That's an awesome shot. So it's the prototype next to the Sportster 48. That's a cool
It's crazy to me, but of all the designs that we've worked on, this is one where there was the least amount of change from the design mock-up to the final production model.
That blows my mind.
I think when people take a look for the first time at Sportster S, while it's going to look very different, it's also going to look very familiar.
We wanted to stitch in some iconic elements of the design from different generations of Sportster. The tail section, XR750,
nice.
That 16-inch front wheel, that's 48.
Sweet.
If you look at what our customers do with Sportster, customization, you can have the same experience you've had with past Harley-Davidsons in terms of making it your own. You can fully kit out the new RevMax family with all kinds of great parts and accessories.
For this bike to really find its way into the modern era, we really gave ourselves a ton of freedom with regards to technology. The ride modes are amazing. It totally changes the personality of the bike.
It is really...
So ride modes, because I just talked about it, I learned about, so there's 5 ride modes. There's sport, rain, road, and 2 customizable ride modes. So pretty neat.
A beautiful 4-inch round TFT display. It's Bluetooth enabled and allows for us to have turn-by-turn navigation and no longer having to worry about the traditional Sportster method of like taping your directions to your tank and trying your best to remember how to get there. But it also has all the upgraded riding safety enhancements. Having cornering enhancement, ABS, allow for a better riding experience.
That's pretty cool.
It's just like Sportster should be, and it's completely unlike any other Sportster you've ever ridden.
Whoa. Laguna Raceway, Laguna SECA. It's a famous racetrack. Man, how cool would it be to be this guy riding this new bike on the racetrack? Kyle WYMAN, Screaming Eagle Factory rider. Hell yeah.
This motorcycle rides exactly the way that it looks.
Sounds good.
It's such an exciting, thrilling motorcycle to ride.
It looks
if
amazing.
the 57 Sportster was a giant killer, then this is an Apex Predator.
Apex Predator.
I mean, this thing is the ultimate evolution of Sportster. This will surprise a lot of people out on the street and just how competitive this motorcycle is in some of these performance metrics.
It's just pissed off and ready to wreak havoc. Just an absolutely exhilarating feel.
We tuned the delivered performance to be more torque-based. So stoplight to stoplight, you're going to be able to crank it and beat your buddy to the next one.
There's just so much to unpack in terms of what the bike delivers from a performance standpoint. 121 horsepower,
94 foot-pounds of torque, 12-to-1 compression ratio, and a peak RPM of 9,500.
500 pounds.
Okay, time out. 1200T, so they redesigned the torque curves and everything, so 94 foot-pounds of torque, 121 horsepower, 9,500 RPM. Typical Sportsters tack out around 5,500 to 6,000 RPM, so you get another 3,000 RPMs. Just saying.
Which feels just incredibly light and maneuverable on the road.
Every ounce of power is just a whole lot of fun.
Looks like a lot of fun. Can't wait. Back in Scotland. Maybe someday I'll have a job. I'm just gonna go test ride the new bikes in Scotland or wherever there's nice paved roads, great scenery.
It was fun charging into some of those corners and grabbing a handful and coming out of the corner.
Perfect bike for twisted roads of Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
I can't wait for people to throw a leg over this bike and really experience the performance that this bike has. It's so agile.
Me neither, Wilkins. Me neither.
I mean, just every gear, there's a surprise waiting for you now.
Yeah. You know, when we were riding today, I was reflecting on so much, you know, the heritage, my family, Scotland. But what I'm really reflecting on now, after getting off that motorcycle, is, you know, we're in exciting times for Harley-Davidson. The Revolution Max 1250 and the new Sportster, and what's to come. It's very, very exciting.
It was a great day. It was great to experience it with you. The history of your ancestors, a new bike, and I think it's time to have a whiskey now.
I love that.
Sick. 1250T, Sportster S.
The future for the Sportster family, it looks incredibly bright based on this motorcycle. And we've got some really cool things up our sleeves, we always do. There will be future models that will definitely tap into some of the more classic form factor of Sportster.
We're really not adding the next chapter to that story, but we're adding the first chapter to the next book.
Damn. It's a bold statement. Sick. So that's the new Sportster S coming out. Hopefully ASAP, Rocky, but we'll never know. Harley's pretty particular about letting us know when exactly we'll receive it. Shipping's backed up, so as you know, we'll see it when we can. It's Donovan at Wilkins Harley-Davidson in Barre, Vermont. Phone number here is 802-476-6104. Give us a call. I have a ton more specs up my sleeve to chat with you about. I would love to chat about the new Sportster S.